folks, how are you? If you're an AMS2 or Automobilista 2 user like me, you're probably doing really well. You're probably really happy. Because of course, we are now on the latest version of Automobilista 2. Yes, on the 1st of February, we got the slightly delayed update 1.3.3.0. And it came with lots of new stuff. There were obviously a few problems over Christmas, and things do get delayed over Christmas, but a delay with Reiza is, wait 5 minutes, it'll be done. It came out, and I thought, I'll leave it a few days before I make a video on this, because there are a few holes, a few problems, and I thought, well, they've just brought it out, and it's Reiza. I'll give it a day, and that'll be fixed. And within a day, it was patched, and then patched again. The next day. We're now on version 1.3.3.1. For instance, one of those holes was we now have in the sim the amazing, fantastic Road America. It came out originally with just one configuration. We've now got two with the extra added bend, or the motorcycle variant, as some people call it. I remember this track from way back in the day of TOCKA Race Driver series, and also R Factor 1, the modded version in that, and the modded version in R Factor 2, I think by ODB and Digger, and a couple of other people have been involved in that. Really good version. This version is phenomenally good. It's fantastic, but it had some holes. So on the first, when it came out, you could drive through these holes. You could drive through the barriers on the sides of the track and off the map and go spinning into space. And I thought, leave it a day or two, and lo and behold, it's now been sorted. And I know that there are no holes on the track now, because I have taken the time to drive around the edges of the track on both the outside and inner walls, steering at the wall all the way to check, because I'm that anal. Moving on. We've got plenty of new content. You just saw a bit of it there in the shape of a new Volkswagen. Before I move on to that, by the way, this is going to be a kind of a brief overview, because there's so much to get through. I can't possibly get it into one video without it being super long. We're going to just do a brief overview. By the way, also, please, if you find my videos useful, entertaining, or you just like my stuff, please take half a second to hit that subscribe button, and please, may I just give a massive thank you to the 580 of you who have already subscribed. Thank you so much. You have no idea what it means to me and how much it helps out. So, first things first, there are a couple of issues, and there's always a couple of issues with any sim. If you're a sim racer, you know this. There are a couple of issues, but I have it on good advice already by Mr. Crimson Essence. Thank you, mate, who's become a bit of a spokesperson for Reiza. I think he's on staff now. These are already being looked into and currently being fixed, so don't worry too much. So what these issues are, there's two major ones and one minor one. So there is a problem with hard tyres, and it's not with all of the cars, but some of the cars where you can select soft, wets or hards, some of them, if you select hards in the wet on a wet track, they will grip better than the wets. That is being sorted, don't worry about it. The other minor issue is that sometimes if you take a car into a session that has no aids, if you like, traction control or ABS, and then you switch to another session with a car that does say GT3 with ABS and traction control, you'll find that's not working, no matter what you set it to. And you have to come out of the session, go back in, and then it's working again. Haven't had this happen in multiplayer, but it does it in single player. I'm sure that's being looked at as well. Not a major thing, because you can just restart the session, come out, go back in. Now, the other issue, which may just be a problem with my files, because I did find after this issue that I verified my files, and at least one file got re-verified, reactivated or something like that. But if you do run into this, be careful. And that is that there is an exploding tyre bug. And in my particular instance of discovering it, I had a force feedback bug that happened with it. If you want to know exactly how to replicate that bug, go and watch the video that my last video that I made entitled AMS2 Warning, Don't Try This with a Powerful Wheel. have a look at that, and you'll see basically my I selected hard tyres with a certain car at a certain track, and the tyres exploded as soon as I pressed drive, and my force feedback went so mad that it almost shook the room apart. Well, shook my rig apart. So if you've got something like a DD wheel, this is a belt drive with 8 Newton meters of force. If you've got something with 20, then, you know, be careful if you try and replicate that bug. Anyway, go and have a look at the video. But that is being looked at already by Reiza, and I have total faith that they'll sort it out. So that's the reason I mention those things first, is because every sim's got problems and bugs, but they need to be addressed quickly, because especially if it's a studio like Reiza, they will be on it really quickly, because Reiza tend to update and fix things like an F1 team updates and fixes an F1 car. So that's all that out of the way. Now here's the good stuff, and there's a lot of it. So first of all, we've got Road America. We have got, and it's an amazing version of Road America. It's so good. We've also got new content. Now, here's some of the free content. So, we previously had the Volkswagen TSI Cup, which is these two cars here. We now have the GTS variants of those two cars, which give us about 20 horsepower more. So, the old version's 128 horsepower, new version's 148. So, they're quicker, they're more powerful. One thing I will let you know about these cars, if you haven't already found out this yourself, you will notice that all of them have ABS and traction control. However, if you go to a racetrack and take them out, if you go into your setup, or if you try and change the ABS setting in the car, nothing will happen, and there's nothing you can change in the setups, because the ABS and traction control on these cars is working, but these are pretty much bog standard hatchbacks, and a lot of, you know, modern hatchbacks and modern family cars, a lot of these cars these days have traction control and ABS built in that you can't turn off. So it's there, it's working, but you can't turn it off, and you can't change the amount. It's just a bog standard system for these. They're great fun to muck around with, and I love having, you know, slow standard, you know, This is the same. These cars, this one here is the same horsepower as my mum and dad's Kia, for instance, hatchback. It's nice to have these in the sim with street tyres as well, you know, all-weather, normal street tyres, because it gives you some of the toys we get to play around with in these sims you wouldn't be able to touch unless you're a multi-millionaire or race driver. So it's fun to, if you take one of these cars and then go out and drive something ridiculous like a DPI Cadillac on slick tyres and all the aero, it's fun to see the huge difference in capability between these machines. It's an amazing thing. So I've driven these around. They're a lot of fun. The only thing I would say is I have noticed that the engine displacement is the same for both of these cars, even though one's I think, slightly bigger engine. And also, the GTS versions are ever so slightly heavier. Not sure why that is. If you know why that is, please tell me in the comments. But I have seen a few people on the forums who have got one of these in real life, and they've said how much they liked the sim version of it. So that's new. Also, one of the things I really like about updates to any sim, especially Automobilista 2, I'm usually more excited about the updates to the core of the sim, the physics, the tyre physics, the AI, things like that. And I was hoping for better force feedback, better physics in this update, and I can tell you we've got it. The force feedback does feel better, and also all of the cars, every single car that I've driven, which is a car that's already in the sim before this update, all of them feel better. That window of edge of grip, losing grip, grip gone, and if you haven't gone into completely catastrophic slide, getting it back, that the way that feels is just so much. It's improved again. You know, you just do feel much more like you're driving on tyres. It's brilliant. Things like also they are gradually bringing in the new driveline elasticity to all of the cars in the sim. It's not on all of them yet, as they're bringing it in gradually. There's a lot of cars to get through, but for instance, if I come over here to GT and Touring, you've got your Mini Cooper JCW. Now this has just had the driveline implementation, and the elasticity in the driveline is basically, you know, there are small bits of give all the way through the driveline, which, you know, tend to sort of add or take away from the tension in it. It's been described by Reiza as kind of like the whole driveline is like a coiled spring. The Mini feels so much better now. Previously, you'd go over a crest. Cadwell's got some very steep crests which then level off and come back down again. You drive the Mini over one of these and it would be struggling. You get to the top and then the wheels would go, power's there, and they just start spinning and off you went. Now it's much more struggling as you go up, and then you can feel the power gradually come in much more realistically as you go over the crest. The wheels will still spin up, but not that on-off thing as it was previously. It feels so much better. The F3s feel amazing. GT3s, everything I've tried. Anyway, that's another brilliant thing. So, like I said, I'm trying to get through this quickly for you, so, you know, bear with me. If I sound like I'm rushing, that is why. Another thing that's been brought in, and I absolutely love this feature. This is fantastic. If you look through the patch notes, and you can find those on the Steam page for Automobilista 2, or for this update, or on the Reiza forums, you will find that some of the cars have been updated, their clutches have been updated, and clutch damage and heating has been brought into effect. Not on all the cars, on some of them. All of the street cars, for instance, all of these have it now, but some of the racing cars also have it. So, for instance, the Chevrolet Omega has this, and I'm going to quickly demonstrate this to you. And as I do, we're going to go to the new track, Road America. We're on a test day, and I have the weather and time of year set to July in the summer. So you're going to see Road America as you usually see it. Lush grass, sunny. But it's a test day as well, so you won't see any crowds around the track. When I do another example a little bit later on, you're going to see the crowds. You've got crowds around the track, but also you're going to see Road America as you've never seen it before, because of course we have different foliages. So I'm going to set it to this time of year and we'll see the winter foliage. Anyway, let's have a quick look at this clutch scenario. Now, you can already, to my mind, Automobilista has one of the most advanced driveline and transmission damage systems going at the moment. I don't know about iRacing. It's the only sim I've not tried, so I can't speak for that. Now, what I'm going to do, I'll bring up my UI here. No, UI, HUD, sorry, wrong terminology. Now, if you look down in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see my tacho. And you can see my pedal input. So you've got the clutches there in grey, you've got the brake there in red, and accelerator in white. What I'm going to do is I'm going to half engage the clutch. So I'm not going to fully engage the clutch. I'm going to ride it like a granny with a lead foot. And I'm going to accelerate full, so give it full revs. Which may get a bit noisy, but it's the only way to show you how this works, I'm afraid, so bear with. And we're going to drive round Road America here. Absolutely stunning looking track. But more of that later. And I'm going to ride the clutch with full revs. So I'm really toasting up that, excuse my driving there, I'm not concentrating on doing a perfect lap obviously. I'm going to attempt to burn out the clutch. As I said, you can already, if you grind your gears too much, you can lose gears. That's already in the sim. I'm not going to show that to you because we're just concentrating on the clutch now, but I'm in 4th gear, I'm putting the clutch in and out, you can see my pedal inputs, and you just would not do that normally, obviously, because you'd burn your clutch out, especially in a racing car. So let's see what's happened after a little bit of that. We're in 1st gear, I'm going to go for a standing start, build up the rev, and engage clutch. And look at that, the clutch, I've got drive, but the clutch, can you hear that? It's slipping like crazy. Now, I'm going to do the same thing again. Sticker in 3rd gear this time. Full revs. And I'm going to keep pumping that clutch, keeping it at halfway. Now, if you did this in a normal car, soon enough, you'd be able to smell the clutch, and there'd be smoke coming out from underneath the car. So, enough of that nonsense. Let's stop again. Right, first gear, standing start, building revs, engaging clutch. And look at that. I'm at full revs and we hardly got any drive. Now if I'm a bit more careful with the accelerator, we get a little bit more drive, and I can actually hear something. There's a new sound as well. Sounds like the clutch is going. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. You keep doing that and you burn out the clutch completely. You have no drive at all. That's an amazing feature. An amazing feature. Especially in manual cars, you'll really have to think about the way you treat your car, your engine, because of course you've got engine damage as well. That's amazing. Bravo, Reiza. What a feature. Like I said, that's not in all of the cars, but it's in quite a few of them. You could read through the patch notes. There is a list of the cars that it's built into already. So, moving on, we also have, in the Formula section, we have another part of the Racing USA DLC, and I'll tell you what, it's worth a punt on that. It's great stuff, great tracks, great cars. We had the karts recently, or the Indy cars brought in. There they are. We've now got the Gen 3 models of those as well. So that includes, where are we again? I've lost my way, help. There we go, we've got the Gen 3 karts, and these things are amazing. I'm going to pop my gear stick into sequential, because that last car was a H-bat and this is a sequential shift. And we're going to do one lap of Road America. Don't worry, because even though Road America is about 6.5 kilometers long, you can get round here, if you're an average driver like me, in about 1 minute 40. Watch this. I want the HUD completely turned off for this. These are absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, you won't get to see a lot of the track because everything's going to be whizzing past so damn quickly. But just look at this. These cars, you really have to trust the downforce and the aero on these cars, because they're kind of counterintuitive. The faster you go, the more grip it generates. It's unbelievable, the cornering speeds on these, and the brakes. Oh, look at that. The brakes on this, which is the Cosworth variant, compared to the Gen 2 cars, is slightly better. Missed the apex there. Slightly better on the braking than the Gen 2 Cosworth. I mean, even to a downhill, sharp left-hander there, braking so quickly into it. And of course, I'm not doing this well because I'm not concentrating, but I love this corner. This is a very tricky corner. I absolutely love it. This track is so good. Everything's modelled so well. The curves, the different surfaces, it's fantastic. But these cars around here, it's, you know, it's like the perfect, apart from an oval or Daytona, it's just so good. And yeah, like I said, you are around here, lickety-split in one of these things. Absolutely amazing, feel great to drive if you like super high speed, 200 mile an hour plus cars, open wheelers, just amazing. And I mean, look at this, just look at all of this. The detail on this track is fantastic. Anyway, I'm trying to get through things quickly. I'm going to have to do a few other videos where I go into a few of the different bits to the update in more depth. But I'm just trying to cover things as quickly as possible here. So, lastly, we're going to go... Let's get out of here. We're going to go to a race session. And let's set up the race session. So I don't want time I want laps, and I just want a 2-lap race. Like I said, I'm trying to do this quickly. Let's have slightly cloudy weather. And in this race session, I've actually got it set to the current date in February as we are now. So you're going to see Road America like you've never seen it before. And we're going to use this car, the McLaren MP4 1C, which comes as part of a new free pack of Formula Retros. And it's Gen 3 this time. You've got 3 of them. They're all pretty high horsepower. One of them in particular, so 526 for this one. 909 for this one. It's got a turbo. And of course you've got so these are generic but based on other cars, and this is of course your McLaren. So let's select that. Let's get out to Road America, and you'll notice there I've got a little qualifying session set up because there's something else I want to show you before we jump into the race. And I'll switch back into a H pattern because these being old F1 cars, they're H pattern, which makes things really interesting. I love this car. One thing I'll tell you about this car before I go any further: all of the cars in Automobilista 2 are sensitive to... Oh, it's loud here! They're all sensitive to the amount of temperature you've got in your tyres. Obviously less so with things like street cars with all-weather tyres, but things with soft slicks, much more so. These cars, I love the handling on these, but it really, really firms up really nicely when you get the tyres up to temp. It's just fantastic. So, one of the things I wanted to show you here before we go and start this quick race, it's a little thing, but I like it. So, up here in the left-hand corner, previously you'd have your race in time or laps and your position. Now, if you've got your race in time, it shows your time, but underneath it also shows you your current lap. I don't know, I like that. I like that, it's cool. But also, if you come back to the pits and you go to Edit Setup, previously, when you went to Edit Setup, you've got your quick setup menu and then a more advanced setup menu. And in the quick setup, you'd have fuel, steering, lock, brake bias, down forces, and anti-roll bars. Now you can select your tyres as well from the quick setup. And also, and I really like this, you can set up the tyres front and back individually. And I can think of at least one car in certain conditions where that would be very useful. Probably many more, but I won't go into why, it's for another video, but I like that. That's great. So, another thing before we start, and this is a biggie, and this is one of those things that I will probably have to make a video all just for this specific thing. So, let's get rid of our HUD there. Now I'm going to press escape, go into options, and into camera. We now have much more options with the cameras. I know a lot of people have had problems with the cameras in Automobilista 2. I never have. Maybe you think they're too complicated. Maybe you think they're too simple. Tell me in the comments what you think, if you disagree with me, if you don't. But there's so many options. But now, we've got even more. So it used to be that you had a G-force effect, and that was it. Now you've got 3 G-forces effect: lateral, longitudinal, and vertical. And that has... I already had good settings, both for screen driving and in VR. And now, even better. I can tailor them so much better. It's brilliant. I'll go into briefly why. So I'm not going to go fully in depth because, like I said, that deserves its own video. Now, one of the reasons I really like this is those G-force effects are now, well, I used to like to drive in helmet view, because in helmet view you had your G-forces. Okay, in cockpit view there were no G-forces, so I used to drive in helmet view. However, when you're driving in screen with the helmet view, as you can see, it obscures my dials there. Obviously in VR you can look up and down, but I didn't used to use VR helmet view in VR anyway, because it actually slows down the FPS for some reason. I don't know why. But the thing that made me stop using it is if I had my G-forces and everything, but I discovered that as I was driving around, if I had a car beside me and I wanted to quickly glance over, it for some reason, look left and right in helmet view, incredibly slow. For instance, I'm going to press it now. And it's taken that long to look over here. That's not enough time when you're racing at 150 miles an hour. And take my finger off the button. It's just really slow. So I stopped. Don't know why I've done that. I stopped using that. Let's just go back to cockpit view. Because in cockpit view, look left and right. I'm going to press it now. There you go. It's almost instant. Almost instant. That's what I like. I would like to see both of those views. Please give us that instantly. In fact, even more quicker than that. Don't even swing around, just instantly. So I'm really pleased now, because now in cockpit view I've got my quick look left and right buttons, but also I've got my G-forces. Longitudinal, lateral, left to right. So for instance, if I now accelerate and brake, you'll see my head position move forward and backwards relative to the car. So here we go. Okay, and now brake. And the car jolts forward. So I've got that now. And I find some of those G-forces effects, I find them very, very useful for certain reasons. I'll go into that in another video. But I will say this. I use completely different settings now for screen driving. Not completely different, but different settings for screen driving than I do for VR driving. So for instance, I use much lower G-force effects. Just because if the camera's moving around and I've got a car with mirrors that are out here, if it moves around it might obscure the mirrors, things like that. You're kind of limited in screen viewing. Very different settings in VR. For instance, I've noticed a lot of people in VR say that this update has, with the old settings they had, they were fine and your head stays where it was, say at Daytona when you're banking. Now it's like your head moves in to the passenger seat. I heard someone describe it that way. I found that I use legacy head movement at screen, and now in VR I have that turned off, and that's completely solved it for me, and I can still have my G-forces. And also head movement is kind of the opposite way around. So 0 is, I think, 100 if you, depending on whether you got legacy head movement turned on or off. Anyway, I'm not going to go into the reasons why I have my settings the way I do. I'll do it in another video. But if you want to see my VR settings just for a moment, if you want to give them a try, I'm going to flash them up on screen now. Okay, so I'm having an amazing time with those. In fact, this game in VR is just amazing. And with the new settings, it's even better. I had a VR session just the other day, just yesterday, in fact, a 15-minute race at Daytona in the Cadillac DPI. And especially with the updates to the AI as well, I've got to tell you, I got out of that VR system going, feck me! Oh my god, I was just actually in a race car with actual drivers. I was blown away. Let me know what you think of the VR experience in Automobilista 2. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't. Anyway, to finish off the video, this quick overview, and I'm sure we've kind of run over quite a lot of time now, so it's not that short a view. We're going to have a 2-lap race, and I'm going to see if I can get side by side to these AI, because the AI have been updated once again. And even though this is a new track with new cars, and that's probably not been a calibration pass done on these yet, which will probably happen very quickly, because Reiza do like to try and tailor the AI for certain types of car and certain types of track. They're already fantastic. The side-by-side stuff is unbelievable. I hope you get to see some of this in this 2-lap race. So we'll skip to the end of qualifying and continue. And I've got to say as well, Road America, the different surfaces, the different surface textures, and all of the different, there are a lot of different curb types around this track. You could feel everything, the differences. You can feel each serration of the curbs. It's just fantastic. Anyway, let's get on with it. So here we are, starting at the back of the pack. Here at Road America, and we are go. Look at the clouds rolling across the sky there. We've got a decent start. We're up on the outside. I'm trying to be careful. I am using 200% damage scaling with full damage on. And these are F1 cars, so quite delicate. I don't want to be crashing into anyone. Down the hill into short shifting into second as we come out of the second corner. And not a brilliant exit. And a bad gear change. Say cheese! Sorry, all the guys on the Reiza forums will know what I'm talking about there. I was going to try and get into the slipstream, but it's not worked out. We've got one car spun off on the edge there, but apart from that, everyone's got through okay, using all the curb on the outside. Down in the second, heeling and towing all the way. These cars, not so great around the slow corners, but once you get up to higher speed and that aero kicks in, a little bit better, but they're not super high downforce, so you can steer them using the back end. For instance, at this corner here, I can use the throttle to steer this car through the corner, so close to the back end of the blue and red car there. The road surface here feeling amazing. Look at, oh, we're sideways. Total driver error on my part there. We'll try that again, but before we do, it's fun, isn't it? Let's have a quick look and see what that looks like on the replay. We'll speed it up to go straight to the crash there. And we should be coming up to it about now. That's where I started to get a bit sideways, as I was behind him there in his draft. But this is where the drama happened. And, oh, look at that. Bang. Wheels off, sliding along the track. Amazing. Right, we'll try that one more time. And I promise I will try harder. So, restart the session. Yes, please. Right. Here we go again. It's amazing being behind these cars, seeing the smoke come out of the exhaust and seeing all of that intricate suspension work, working suspension arms, and also the gearboxes and bits. Ooh, my fault, car's gone off there, but I think I'm okay. I don't think I've damaged any suspension. Might have damaged my front wing slightly. Again, my fault. But no, we're okay. Just looking at the damage there as I bring up the HUD. Car just touching the grass there. We move up into fifth, but then we're straight on the brakes again. Short shifting down at second with a bit of heel and toe. Round the tight left-hander here as we approach the Corvette's on. I'm going to make a dive for the inside there. Oh, and I've been told off because I did cut the corner there. So I've got to give the place back. I love that system in AMS2. Just like the real thing. You gain a place illegally, you've got to give it back. It's fantastic. And I'm going to try and use the throttle again around this corner, but I'm going to be a bit more careful this time. There we go. Oh, very close to the back end of the red and blue car there. Right, let's see if we can get through this corner safely this time. I'm going to lift off slightly, not too much. And we're through safely. And there's the crowds. Just look at that foliage. Honestly, never, ever seen a version of Road America quite like this. Careful, careful. On the down change from third to second. And we're in the slipstream. Getting your gear change is so important. Getting them right is so important in these cars, but we've got a bit of slipstream. We're past. And hard on the brakes. Not a great line through the first corner there, but we've managed to maintain position. Oh! Too much brakes, a little bit of lockup on the back end there. Say cheese! Down into that last, hard on the brakes all the way, short shifting all the way from 5th to 2nd. Being so careful not to look up those back wheels. This corner always, that's one of the most difficult ones. You do risk coming unstuck over that crest there. Now can I come down on the inside here? Couldn't quite out braking. I've got to give him the corner. He had the nose. And round we go, and I'm going to use the throttle to catch up here, see if I can get a good exit, because I want to get beside these guys as we come down through this section here. And yes, we're through on the outside, inside rather. When are they going to brake? They're braking now. I'm going to brake now. Can I just squeeze through on the inside? Yes, look at that side by side stuff. Absolutely fantastic. I love these cars. Through on the inside once again. He's still there. We're side by side. But I've just got him. He's got outside on the curb, touched the grass, slowed down a bit, and we're through. And there we go. Oh, just absolutely fantastic stuff. Reiza, you've done it again. Hats off to you, bravo. I will try and do some videos on some of the little things, especially things like the camera settings, more in depth. But for now, I hope you enjoyed that. And sorry if it seemed a bit rushed, but like I said, I have tried to make this video about 3 times today. It's taken all day. Anyway, thank you for watching, and as always, if you enjoy my videos and you find them useful, then if you want this channel to survive, do me a favor and hit subscribe. May seem like a small thing to do, but it enables me to make more videos for you. By hitting that button, you can help us thrive. Subscribe and keep this channel alive. Don't cost nothing, don't take no time. Come on now, keep this channel alive.